All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Three Stooges. There's three of us. We're all Stooges. We've been called much worse, as you can imagine. Joe Davidson, Sacramento Bee since forever. Chris Jackson, West Coast Preps, does a fantastic job with all of Northern California and really the whole state with high school sports. And then Georgeson with the man of the hardy good beard, Gold Country Media. He is Placer County born and raised, covers all of the Sacramento region. We have CIF Sac-Joaquin Section basketball championships to dig into, which we will do. The championships are Thursday and Friday at Golden One Center. That's the home of the Sacramento Kings. Why not Saturday? We'd like to have a Saturday. All the teams would like to have a Saturday, but the Deftones of Sacramento are having a concert. So CIF understands you have to be flexible. Happened last year. All kinds of things. Some of the things that we're going to talk about today, besides basketball, is eight-man football is here. It's going to help save teams in the Sacramento region, up and down the Sac-Joaquin section. It's a good thing. It's normally 11-man football. If you have small enrollment schools, you need eight-man. This is fantastic. The CIF gets on this stuff right away. Outstanding. But before we do that, Chris Jackson was working the phones, got a little video clip. Stone Ridge Christian of Merced, the top ranked number one seed for boys basketball. At Division Six, going to take on Sacramento Waldorf at noon tomorrow at Golden One Center. Going to be shorthanded. Why? What happened? What was your discussion? Was there appeal? Is there a problem here? Your floor.
So I will share the video on socials right after this podcast. I believe I sent it to both these guys too, so they've seen it. But one of their top guys, Dejan O'Neal, right, a champion before, a star every single game. I swear I get the stats. He's got 20 points, something else. They're up 12, 50 seconds left. Elbow goes up, but does not hit the opposing player's face, and you can see that on video clearly. But you could accuse flop, no flop, whatever it is. Ends up getting the flagrant ejection, which then means what? You cannot play the next game per these rules. So then Stonebridge Christian goes to appeal their case. Usually appeals do not win. That's just the track record of it. They got the appeal results in within the last, what, I want to say 20, 30 minutes. And from Stonebridge Christian's coach himself, Tyler Rogers, he was just not on the appeal. He will not play. But now, before we kind of go with the CIF, or I know people want to, he did say that apparently the CIF did go to bat for them. They tried to give a referee the chance to backtrack the evidence, backtrack a little bit with the video, but I guess what, from Stonebridge Christian's point of view, the referee held firm on the decision, the call. So now Stonebridge Christian at Golden One Center, top guy J. John O'Neal can now not play and try to shoot some NBA threes on this week, unfortunately. So Stonebridge Christian's shorthanded as it goes for a repeat of a title, and all of this happening within just the last 30 to 40 minutes.
Well, a couple of things I'm going to defer to Jordan here to have some thoughts and insight here. Jordan's always got something good to say, including with basketball referees or umpires, and we'll get into that. But, well, first of all, unfortunate. I saw the video. I think we invite people to look at the video. Chris Jackson's going to post that. And it doesn't look malicious, doesn't look nasty. Per CIF rules, as Chris Jackson alluded to, if you get thrown out, you are out the next game. Could be more games. That's a crusher right there. Kudos to the CIF Sac-Joaquin section for making time to get an appeal. Not a lot of time. A lot of times those appeals don't work. So really interesting. Bottom line is frustrating, unfortunate. It also is a reminder as we barrel into the signature event for the Sac-Joaquin section that everybody's got to mind their behavior. And that's a coaches, assistant coaches, players, fans, administrators, anybody. Us, the Stooges, got to not be such Stooges. But, I'm going to jump on this right away. And a lot of people think, oh, the referees out to screw it. No, they're not. No, they're not. Could this have been reversed? Should have been. It was good that they had dialogue. It's unfortunate. We don't know if there was more banter and talk like that. Crippling blow, and really gives a big advantage for Sacramento Waldorf. Longtime coach Dean Stark, more than 700 victories at Sacramento Waldorf, a Division Six powerhouse for years. He helped elevate small school basketball. That's a big bonus for them. He doesn't want this as a gift. It's unfortunate. But Jordan, your thoughts on the whole thing? You saw the video. Tough way for Stone Ridge to come marching into Sacramento for a championship, and they're going to be shorthanded.
It's unfortunate. I can't share your guys' thoughts on the video. I saw it, and It looked to me like a little bit of a flop, but even if you would argue it's not a flop, it did not look intentional in any way, shape, or form. And it's unfortunate that it leads to that. And unfortunate that, this kid's ejected now and doesn't get the chance of a lifetime to play at Golden One Center. And I think a lot of it is, I'll defend officials and umpires and everything until the end of time. I mean, these guys have a thankless job. They're doing it for pennies on the dollar. They deal with abuse from fans, from players, from coaches, from all of them. They have a tough job. But situations like this, too, this is kind of where officials get a bad rap, in my opinion, where it feels like maybe pride or ego or whatever you want to call it is what's getting in the way of this kid having a chance to play at Golden One Center. And I don't understand why it's so hard for some people to just say, hey, hand up, made a mistake. I read that situation wrong. Looking at the video evidence, maybe from an angle I didn't see it at before, something like that. There was a mistake that was made, and this kid should be allowed to play in this game. I mean, I don't think we have the system in place for these appeals. I don't understand why we don't just let them come in and overturn this. And I talked to you guys yesterday, but even certain situations where, again, it feels like pride or ego or something got in the way. I was doing a softball game yesterday, and I talked to the home plate umpire before the game, ask him where I can shoot, because it was a small field up at Colfax High School and kind of tight dugout. So it makes more sense to be pressed up on the fence. And he said, hey, that's fine. Shoot where you need to shoot. So I'm working my way around the field, and in the sixth inning, the game's a blowout. I'm talking to a parent on Placer's team because the story I was doing was they had lost 34 games in a row in softball. Their last win was 2 years ago, and they had beaten Marysville last week, and they won this game too. So second win in a row for them. And I was talking to a parent whose kid had been on the team since they were a freshman and has been there for the whole losing streak. And I'm talking to her through the fence because I'm standing on the field. Game's almost over. I'm not taking as many photos, but I've still taking a few. And all of a sudden, after the fifth inning, the field umpire comes up to me and he starts pointing his finger at me, yelling at me like I'm some kid that got in trouble. And he's saying, you're not doing your job. You need to go back to where you came from. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you need to go back to the dugout. You can't be out on the field. And I go, I'm shooting on the field. The home plate umpire said it was okay. This umpire felt that I wasn't apparently doing my job enough. I don't know who he is to determine that, but apparently he read my job description and knows what it is that I do and what my story angle is. And he decided that he needed to go talk to the home plate umpire and get me removed from the field because he didn't like how I was doing my job. Now, how he could watch me do or not do my job and do his job and watch the game at the same time, beyond me, but that is what it is. But I think, again, it comes down to at what point is it, I defend these umpires and these officials and everything. They have a hard job, but at what point are we letting egos and power trips and stuff like that get in the way? And I mean, is the best use of the time really hassling the media or making it so this kid can't play in a championship game because of something that you perceived as maybe a flagrant foul that wasn't upon video evidence? I mean, they have a thankless job, but sometimes I feel like we need something in check. We're like, hey man, come on, let's pump the brakes a little bit here and just take a deep breath and revisit this.
Oh, that's good said. That's unfortunate. I've been doing this a lot of years, guys, as you know, and I've had very few issues with umpires or referees. I talked to a lot of them over the years. They share stories about how parents are out of control and sometimes coaches. And sometimes they'll talk about, hey, we have guys who the moment's too big for them and they're human and all that. But that's why, like Jordan has touched on and Chris Jackson has touched on, is they have to have dialogue. They got to talk. And I remember about 10 years ago at Arco Arena when the old Kings Arena before Golden One came up to life. And there was a basketball official, and I can't remember if it was before a section championship game or a state championship game. And he was in his stripes and takes off his jacket, getting ready to go out there and warm up. And he says right there behind the scores table, my girlfriend's here so you can darn well bet that I'm going to make extra calls so she could see my mechanics. And people were waiting for him to laugh. Like, is that a punchline? He was dead serious. And first of all, nobody's there to see your mechanics and your emphatic player control call or backcourt or 10 seconds or anything. So that's rare. Mostly these guys are professionals and they bunker down. And about 8, 9, 10 years ago, it all runs together after this many years. I went to a baseball game. It was Sacramento Bee #1 Elk Grove, Thundering Herd playing at rival Franklin Wildcats right there, also in Elk Grove. And I park, and a lot of times in high school baseball and softball, you'll see the umpires get dressed and put their gear on in the parking lot. And so I parked, and none of them recognized me. And I didn't know them. I'd seen them, but I didn't know them by name. And the infield ump, because he didn't have the chest gear, chest protector, said, "I can't wait to throw out Jeff Carlson." And that was the Oak Grove Thundering Herd coach, fantastic coach, all kinds of championships. But he'll chew on referee umpires, which is what happens in baseball. And the other umpire said, "Well, why would you do that? I'm tired of him. I'm going to do it to make a stand, and we're not going to stand for his." And so, sure enough, the third or fourth inning, there was a bang bang play at second base. Is he safe? Is he out? The call went against Elk Grove, and somebody chirped in the dugout, and that umpire raced across the infield and said, and pointed at Jeff Carlson. Carlson said, "I didn't say anything." And he goes, "Doesn't matter." After the game in the parking lot, Elk Grove won anyways. And I asked him, he didn't know who I was. And he goes, "Yeah, I put a foot down and blah, blah, blah." I sent that information to the assigning referee of Sacramento, as Jim Jorgensen at that time is not longer doing it. And he says, "We can't have that." So there's just an exception, but that's rare, fortunately. We could go on and on and on about all this, but you know, I would probably tell Jordan, I said, "Hey man, shoot your photos, keep your mouth shut, don't talk to." No, I'm just kidding. You should be able to do what you got to do, and all that. All right, Chris Jackson. We have talked about this. Jordan, we have talked about this, about 8-man football, and I have a list of, I believe, some of the 8-man football teams that are going to start in the Sac-Joaquin section. And then I'm going to bounce to you, Chris Jackson, because you talked to a coach, and we want to get your thoughts on here. But schools in the Sacramento region, Encina, Mariloma, San Juan, all of San Juan Unified School District. 30 years ago, they were all Division I schools. They're all now Division 4, 5, or 6, super small. Valley Christian of Roseville, Western Sierra Rockland, Forest Hill of Placer County. All small enrollment. We've talked before. These schools need to have 8-man football, or their programs will die. Delta Saints on the Clarksburg River. The Florin Panthers of the Oak Grove Unified dropped football last year. They're going to have 8-man. Turlock Christian had 8-man football. It's going to continue to do it. Vacaville Christian, Valley Christian of, I guess that's of Roseville. Maybe I mentioned them twice. Victor Christian of Carmichael. So there we go. A couple others of note. I think it's outstanding. Chris, who did you talk to? What are their thoughts? And is this happening, or is this just discussion?
So it is happening. Vacaville Christian is also becoming an 8-man team. So the list, it is now also on the, you go on the section website, you can find it as well, and it's also been sent to me. Here's the list. So it's not just, so you'll see Division 7 here, and you'll see Division 8 is where on the website those 7-man teams are right now. That list, like Adventure Christian, Aspire out of Stockton, Delta, Encina, Florin, Forest Hill. You've got Kairos Public Schools, a newer school out in Vacaville. You've got Muraloma, led by Jesse Collins, coaching multiple sports. I don't know how the heck he does that. I hope he's getting some sleep in the spring. First off, San Juan, Turlock Christian, Vacaville Christian. You've got Valley Christian, Victory Christian, and then Western Sierra out in Jordan's neck of the woods had great basketball season this year and doing 8-man football as well. So that's the list that we have so far, but it's definitely becoming a thing in the Sac-Joaquin section now. We've seen the success happen other places. Just speaking with Coach Tarango, Manny Tarango out of Vacaville Christian, he was just wanting to make sure, hey, will this impact any kind of recruiting with my kids if we go to 8-man football? Every coach he talked to, he's one of the best coaches, I would say, in the Sac-Joaquin section, Northern California, pumping out kids, not just his school, but elsewhere in the section and Northern California. He was assured by places like Simpson, who we've seen do an excellent job as a new program in Reading, recruiting this area. They have assured him, no, we're still going to recruit your guys. If you can play football, you can play football. We've seen 8-man kids like out of Branson and Marin County, had kids get offers. So 8-man football is something that can thrive in this region. And it could be a way also for some of these programs to kind of reclaim some of that glory and maybe kind of start from the ground up again and build that culture again of winning and sustained success.
Because if you don't do it, these programs fold, and it's not scholarships. That's great, but 98% of the kids don't get them. It's just a chance for kids to play football and have cheerleaders go out and fans and community and all that. And Jordan, you did that story on Western Sierra of Rockland last fall, had the folded season. That was just weeks after I did a story on the Elk Grove Unified School District teams, the Florin Panthers and the Valley Vikings. I'm not sure what Valley's going to do. I think Valley's going to stick with 11-man football. Those are crushing stories. That's because it's the end of a season before they really get going. And there's always you cannot have 9 players in a practice like San Juan has had over the years and expect to have a practice. Then you have a safety issue. So Jordan, your thoughts real quick on that. And I would think that Western Sierra feels new life. Here's Western Sierra that's doing great things in basketball. You only need 5 guys on the floor at one time. Football, you got to have, you know, you got to have at least 20, 25, and the smaller programs really suffer. But Jordan, quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I said when we did our football previews back in July, I went out to Western Sierra's practice and watching them, they had, I think, 8 or 9 guys that were allowed to be in helmets at the time with the acclimatization period. A lot of kids weren't even allowed to be in any type of padding whatsoever yet. I think they had 13, 14 kids total at practice. They had linemen running routes just so they can get some type of drill in because they just didn't have enough to do a team. Then a couple weeks later, they fold the season. And, I think of a program like a Forest Hill that hasn't gotten to field a JV team in 7 or 8 years. And typically they're only getting 23, 24 kids out there. And that's hard to practice in 11 on 11 practice when you only have 23, 24 kids. But now if you're doing 8 on 8, you can have essentially 3 teams almost rotating in and out, getting everyone reps, gives you an opportunity to have some JV teams. And Chris, like you said on the recruiting part, I mean, to name some people that played 8-man football, Leighton Vander Esch, who was a Pro Bowler, Tariq Cohen, who's been a Pro Bowler, Heisman Trophy winner Rashawn Salam grew up playing 8-man football. So, I mean, it's not like playing 8-man football is going to stop you from getting recruited. If you can play, you can play, and they will notice you. And I mean, football is football at the end of the day. And I think this is great for the section. Another great thing, you mentioned a few of the schools, Victory Christian, Aspire, a lot of these schools, they didn't even have football programs at all. And now they're adding it to get this 8-man football team. So I think we could maybe see, a Forest Lake Christian, a John Adams Academy, something like that. Maybe they add football because they can do 8-man football. And then also Turlock Christian has been independent playing 8-man football for years. They get to play in a postseason now and play for a section championship and play for something, play for a league title. I think that's awesome. I love this idea.
I did too. And all the way up in the northern section, which goes from the Marysville, Yuba City area all the way up to the Oregon border. Up there by the border, the Oregon border, there's been a lot of schools over the decades that just became too small, rural schools, and they turned to 8-man football because it means something to have athletics for small schools where that's such a social epicenter. It's important. It's good for mental health. Teachers, coaches, administrator, parents, media, we all want kids involved. So that's really good. All right, one more topic on football. I'm going to touch on this and I'm going to toss to Chris Jackson on this, but a couple of players of note. Eric Armstead, pride of the Elk Grove Unified School District, Pleasant Grove Eagles graduate, first round draft pick of the San Francisco 49ers, longtime team captain for the 49ers on the offensive line, is now with Jacksonville in the NFL, was named the NFL Man of the Year. And that's by his peers. And that means he's involved in his community. He reaches out. He does Read to Achieve programs. He's very involved. This is no act. This guy is a genuine good man. And Shaq Thompson of Grant High School fame, longtime player, linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, has also been nominated for this award for many years. Ian Book, another side note, we forgot to mention him last couple of weeks, was in the Super Bowl, did not play quarterback, but was on the sideline and was ecstatic. He's out of Oak Ridge High School in El Dorado Hills. The point being, how cool is that for that school? There's a guy who keeps giving back, keeps coming back and working with young players, upcoming players. He's good friends with Ron Martin, Cat Martin. They own El Dorado Saloon right there in El Dorado Hills, the kind of a sponsored business for the high school there. So great football. Chris Jackson, you and I were pleased. We could be pleased in the media that one of our frontline football players, we have all seen him play, um, Luke Alexander of the Grant Pacers, leads Grant to a section championship three-peat, wins a state championship a year after not winning when he got hit with a concussion late at the half. And he has a marvelous year. He's like so many high school players where they have the great grades, they got the good skills, the good character, they check off on all the boxes. Hard to get scholarships. But he gets a scholarship. Where is he headed? Who was the X Factor person there? And how cool is this?
Funny how it all comes full circle like this, right? So Luke Alexander just announced, I think it was last Thursday. I remember getting this text as I was going to research for that great El Capitan Whitney girls game, right? Well, you've got Luke Alexander gets offered by West Georgia, who now on staff, who was hired last year as the running backs coach. He has since become the quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator. Reed Sanders, who you may know, was previously the head coach at Rio Americano, and he was our coach of the year in 2023 for West Coast Preps. They had their best record in 30 years, and he goes from that to the college ranks, goes back to coaching college. He's been in this area for a little bit. He was an OC at Capital Christian out, obviously Destiny Christian, but now he's back kind of where he's from. He's back home in Georgia, where he's originally from, close to a lot of family. And there may just be that chance for Luke Alexander, who had one of the best state runs I've ever seen a quarterback have, the way he played in those games with him and Kobe Shabazz, Rosario Edwards, now has that offer to West Georgia. And all signs point, maybe things change, but if I were just kind of putting chips on the table right now, I would say that this is the place that Luke Alexander ends up. Now, obviously, things can change, right? Who knows what else comes about? There's a lot of circumstances that come out with commitments, recruiting, everything else. And obviously, Luke Alexander is really freaking good, right? He showed that this year. He showed that in the state run, the state playoffs. But how it all comes full circle to a guy like Reed Sanders, who's coached out here, recruiting one of Sacramento's own and one of Sacramento's best to maybe play Division I football at West Georgia.
Outstanding. And the whole theme is go where you feel wanted, go where it fits. Sometimes it means it's going to be on the East Coast, might be a program you haven't heard about, but the chance to keep playing. He's going to do just fine as a student, as a 4.0 student. All right, Jordan, where were you last night? What did you come of it? And what is that team's prospects as we bound into CIF Sac-Joaquin Section basketball championships this weekend?
Was up at Colfax in Division III watching the Lady Falcons take on Rio Linda. That was a great matchup. Something had to give. Rio Linda came in with 17 straight wins. Colfax with 16 straight wins. It was really a game of runs. Rio Linda took an early lead. Colfax goes on 18-0 run to make it 20-4. Rio Linda cuts that lead down to 3, and then Colfax with another 14-0 run in the chunk of it. I mean, they took a 3-point game and turned it into a 13 or 14-point game in maybe a minute and a half. I mean, it felt like you almost kind of looked up and you were like, wait, what just happened? How did it get to this score? Lady Falcons won 45-22. They're going to their third straight Sac-Joaquin Section championship game. First time up in D3, two-time defending NorCal champs. The usual suspects at play, Juliet James, Kaya Diedrichs, but the freshman Bell Chu, 5 feet tall, and that might be exaggerating it if you've ever seen her in person. She came out, she really set the tone for Colfax. She got a coast-to-coast layup. Then the next possession, a steal, takes that down for a fast break, then hits a big three, another easy layup. I think she led them with 14 points. But I think the big stat with this is, if you look at Colfax's stats, they don't jump off the table at you, but one is they're running teams out of the gym, and the starters really just aren't playing that much in the games because they're up by so much. But two stats really jump out to me, and that is Colfax has now won 11 straight Sac-Joaquin Section playoff games, all of them by double digits. In the last 10 opponents, Colfax has held to under 30 points. I mean, most teams would be happy with a 10-game winning streak, but holding teams to under 30 points, when a couple of those being postseason games. And if you look at the PVL, I mean, the PVL is no slouch. You got Marysville, Lincoln, Bear River. And then, Rio Linda was coming in at 27-3 last night. So these Lady Falcons, they play Pondo on Friday for the D3 title, but they're no slouch. I mean, it's been a fun team to cover for the last couple of years. And as long as Rexanne Simpton is coaching that team, I think Colfax has a chance to win a section title as long as she's there.
Well, great coach. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but Rexanne Simpson was Rexanne Rodriguez before she got married, was an all-metro guard for the Nevada Union Miners in the 1990s when Nevada Union was king, powerhouse, won a lot of section Division I championships. We can't imagine that anymore at the Division IV school now with the enrollment drop, but terrific coach. I agree. Homegrown kids, we've talked on that before. All Sac-Joaquin Section semifinalists advance to the NorCal rounds. That starts next week. Of course, everybody wants to play in Golden One, so that'll be fun. Chris Jackson, where were you last night? What did you think of it, and what's next for the team the teams that you saw?
I was at the Thunderdome in Rockland, watched the two-seeded Rockland Thunder take down number three Wood Creek 67 to 15. Rockland's as hot as anybody. 113 straight playing their best basketball. And to think, start of the year, Rockland was without some guys, right? They're football guys making that run to the section finals, like a Reeve Sloan, Josiah Andrews, who's an all league and all region type of guy in basketball who's got D1 football offers now, kind of getting back into that football fold. And then there was Eli Willis, the transfer from Crosstown Whitney, had to sit out the first half of the year. And Steve Taylor said after the game he thought that maybe he could have done more for Eli, gotten him in better basketball shape before that he was eligible to play. And but I think that's also just a great coach being hard on themselves, right? I remember Oakmont baseball winning sections last year, and Paul Martinez is apologizing to his team, thinking he could have done more and done a better job as a coach. And I'm thinking, what the heck are you talking about? I mean, this is like incredible, right? And you've had an incredible run. They go to win NorCal's, right? But Steve Taylor's group won 13 straight. You've got the great Mark Lavernov, scores 31 points, over 2,000 career points. He has, I know our friend Matt Bassett's looking right now to see the Rockland records with Brendan Lane over there and seeing where Lav stacks up in terms of the Rockland all-time record, but another 31 points, over 2,000 in his career, hits threes, blocks shots, 6'8", and Sacramento State got a stud there. You had him, Josiah Andrews. Willis had 17 points, a great game, but this was Rockland basketball. Even if the game got within seven at a point in the third quarter, it just never felt like Wood Creek was going to claw back. Rockland was too good. Lavrinoff won his battle inside against the fellow D1 prospect, and Rockland was getting shots across the board, inside, outside, blocking shots, rebounding well, superb ball movement. And if you haven't been to the Thunderdome for a game, I think you have to, because that place was filled to the brink. And I don't know if I slept for 6 hours after that, because I think I was just so juiced to be in an environment like that. But that's where I was. Now Rockland's going to a section final. They've got a chance to return their blue banner for the first time in over a decade. And what a group it is to go from bottom of the SFL 2 years ago to SFL champs last year to then going to Golden freaking one on Thursday night and playing an
Yeah.
SFL Jesuit.
Yeah, and the Jesuit Marauders hold off Destiny Christian, the former Capital Christian, 54-50. More great defense for Coach Tim Kelly's team. That Division II section championship at Golden One Center will be at 8 p.m. on Thursday night. I was talking to Hank Weinberger, the athletic director for Jesuit last night, and he said he's trying to convince the school, let's close school on Friday so we could have everybody come out on Thursday, make it a lively event. Why isn't the game on a Friday or Saturday? Well, Friday's the Division I games and other divisions, and Saturday we got the Deftone concert, so CIF has to be adjustable there. So that's a terrific Division I or Division II championship game. I saw the Folsom Bulldogs last night take on Inderkum, our Sacramento Bee ranked number 1 team for most of the season. And Folsom dropped the hammer. They made 12 three-pointers, played superb defense, superb coach. And Mike Wall, he was ecstatic afterwards. We know that he can bark and he could fume and he could just build himself under the lather. He was ecstatic because of the ball movement, the fundamentals, the depth. Chase Rollins and all these guys, Ryder Lyons, the 5-star quarterback who goes out there and just adds muscle and grit. And what a fantastic team. They just dropped the hammer on them. 69-50 after just dropping a haymaker on the Vanden Vikings of Fairfield in a quarterfinal. So that sets up a terrific showdown. Friday night, Division I Sac-Joaquin Section Championship. Modesto Christian going for a section championship four-peat with Gavin Sykes and Miles Jones, both of Sacramento roots. So they'll certainly love having a shorter commute. And so that's so Mike Wall is in his eighth section final, seeking his fifth or sixth championship. He's one of the all-time great coaches we've ever had. So that's fantastic. Let's go down some games, and I'll bounce off to you guys. So opening schedule tomorrow, Golden One Center. If you want tickets, you can get them on the Sac-Joaquin Section site. You can't get tickets at the door. You got to get it online. Real easy to do. 10 a.m. Division Six girls, Sacramento Adventist Academy of Carmichael here, Fair Oaks, taking on Faith Christian Lions of Yuba City. This is my rematch from last season at UC Davis. Sacramento Adventist won that game. Kenny Johnson was the coach. He's still in everybody's hearts. He's been on a personal leave. So Scott Tedman, the judge, our friend who does a little bit of everything, won championships with the boys, is now coaching the girls, came in at midseason, is fired up for a chance. His first game was a game at Faith Christian, and Lauren Harris, the section's leading scorer, I think dropped in 7 threes. Welcome back, coach. So that's a great opportunity to there. Nobody cares that it's 10 a.m. They play at 6 a.m. on the blacktop. So Stone Ridge Christian taking on Sacramento Waldorf Boys Division Six. That's at noon. We talked about Stone Ridge not with its best player because of an ejection. Appeal didn't work. Sacramento Waldorf, coached by Dean Stark, 700 game winners, been at Sac Waldorf forever, has never won a section championship. Does it happen here? One of the class guys. Division Four girls, 2 p.m. Riverbank of Stanislaus County taking on Liberty Ranch of Galt. We all know Haley Smith, 5'11" guard, plays different sports, does a little bit of everything. That was Matthew Bissett calling me. I'm live here, man.
He just tried to call me 5 minutes ago too. That's all right. We're calling out Matt here.
I'm sure my phone's going to be next.
Yeah. And three more games for tomorrow. Division Four boys, Casserole versus Natomas. It's a Golden Empire League extension. Those teams split in that league. Those are both outstanding teams. That should be fun. Division Two girls, Christian Brothers Falcons in a final for the fifth time in 8 years under Coach Shandon Foster. She went by Shandon Hicks when she was a good player for the program years ago, taking on Atwater. And then, as we talked about, Jesuit and Rockland right there. And then we're going to jump to Saturday. We have Woodland Christian boys and girls opening up the day. Colfax Ponderosa, Jordan just broke that one down. Christian Brothers boys, the top seed in Division Three, takes on El Capitan of Merced. Chris Jackson, what is up with El Capitan? Number 10 seed. They go up to Placer. Jordan, they knock off the Hillman, then they go beat the Burbank Titans on 3500 Florin Road. This team is to be applauded no matter what happens tomorrow. What's going on with El Capitan, and what's their story there, Chris Jackson?
They are that Cinderella run, but instead of March, it's still technically February. Where maybe it feels like March because the weather is so great. But the 10 seed, they go to the 2 seed Placer on the road, 147.4 miles from the El Capitan campus to Placer. And who knows if they made a stop, grab food, whatever it was on that kind of drive. I think you have to. I had to make a stop driving down to Merced, and my drive from Elk Grove was quicker than freaking Auburn, right? So they make that drive. They hold Placer to 3 of 20 shooting from three. Diego Ultraris, we commend those multi-sporters. Well, guess what? The guy that had 8 interceptions in football in the fall scores 28 points. They then go to Burbank, who was 111 miles from El Capitan's campus, right? They go to 3500 Florin Road. They win again, defeat the 6 seed Burbank, and Diego Ultraris has another 23 points. And El Capitan making a run to Golden One Center. I don't know if any of us had this on our bingo card. Guessed this before the year. I think there was always kind of that thought like, hey, it could be a Christian Brothers Placer kind of thing. Maybe Charles Bridges shakes it up. Maybe Roseville shakes it up. Maybe Burbank shakes it up. Well, you know what? El Capitan shakes it up. The girls basketball team had a record 25 wins this year. They win a league title for the first time, and their boys team making history too. And they're going to a NorCal playoff, and who knows? Just maybe they get hot again, and maybe they shock the world one more time. Because clearly travel doesn't matter. They're making travel like some of these college teams do, and the ACC going across the coast, the Pacific Coast, or the Big 12 or Big 10, and they're making this look easy. And heck, maybe it's just the way El Capitan likes it too.
I love it. It's good stuff. There's always an underdog. That's what makes it fun. Jordan touched on that last week and the week before. All right, girls Division 1-6 is a great game. The Folsom Bulldogs, top ranked all season by the Sacramento Bee. The McClatchy Lions, number 2 ranked for most of the season. Nick Pecoraro is going to be covering some of those games for us for the Sacramento Bee, and also be on the air with Matthew Bissett on ABC Jam Productions with the NFHS. All of these games will be on some stream there. Jordan, I'm not sure if you've seen the Folsom girls play. Probably have as they play. They just tower over the Sierra Foothill League. McClatchy is fantastic. Our Sacramento Bee Player of the Year last season. Nina Kane, another great season, going to the Washington Huskies. This is a fantastic Division I championship game. McClatchy celebrated last night in Stockton, beating storied, famed powerhouse, the St. Mary's Rams, who have only won 22 section championships and nine in Division One and since 2013. They celebrated. They were squirting water bottle over the coaches, Jeff Oda included. That's a big deal. And now they got to try to back it up here. So that's a great way, excuse me, great way to cap the week in girls basketball. But Jordan, have you seen Folsom girls and the pressure's on them? They're supposed to be here. They're supposed to win, but this is a toss-up game. This is outstanding.
It really is a toss-up game. I haven't actually gotten to see Folsom's girls or McClatchy's girls this year, but I saw them plenty last season. Saw McClatchy in that NorCal game against Whitney, where Nina Kane just, I mean, went off, and then she's mad at herself after the game because she feels like she could have done more. I mean, what more could she have done? And Folsom needs no introduction. This program, as much as we talk about Folsom being a powerhouse in football, the girls basketball team might be a bigger powerhouse. I mean, they've been nationally ranked and really in section championship banners just as much as the football team has. They've been incredible these last couple of years, and incredible team again. I think if I had to pick a game, I think if you had to ask me, hey, what's going to be the best game of the weekend? I would say Folsom McClatchy girls might be has a very good real chance of being the top game of the weekend. I could see this going down to the wire, and like you said, total coin toss with this game.
What makes it more interesting is
I,
Folsom out one of its stars. Dixie McClanahan, as Folsom's coach, had told our friend Matt Lawn, right, one of Jordan's coworkers at Gold Country Media, that Dixie McClanahan knee injury out for the rest of the playoffs. So that kind of shakes this up even more. Now Folsom still got a lot of other pieces, but now we get to see a Folsom McClatchy matchup. I think that is an absolute toss up. And if you have not watched Nina Kane play, heck, you know what? Maybe a few of you, maybe I'll just help pay for your ticket if you really want to watch a superstar play. Okay. Don't hold me to any more than 2 or 3 tickets for that. But she's just that good. It's that great of basketball to watch. And she's got some great teammates too, like Norette Lewis and some other stars next to her. And as you know, Joe, covering McClatchy and all this for a long time here, Oda's one of the best coaches around.
Oh, he is. And Daisy Throckmorton is their star of the future. She's a junior. She's a flag football quarterback, prolific player, their first year of flag football in the Sac City Unified. And Jeff Oda, what I love about, we talk about the Grant Pacers in all sports, and so many of their coaches are former alums. Jeff Oda played basketball at McClatchy in the 1970s under Harvey Tahara, who I still think is the greatest girls and boys combo coach I've ever seen around here. Fantastic, fundamentally sound, one of the greats. Anytime he's late to a game, I always think he's out there signing autographs or taking selfies. He's a man of the people. The McClatchy basketball floor is named after he and his wife, Janice. Which is really cool. So Jeff Oda played there. Jessica Kunasaki is assistant coach. She was a McClatchy girls basketball player. She was the head coach for McClatchy 10 years ago in 2015 in Berkeley on the Cal Bears campus when the state basketball finals were there, and the McClatchy Lions won it in Division One. And so Jeff Oda was an assistant there, so they go back and forth. Jackie Wada is an assistant coach for the McClatchy Lions. She was a former shooting guard star for the girls team too. So really cool to see them do it. They're standards of a lot of ball handlers, and I'm gonna, one guy to look for. If there's a guy to look for besides the guys we've already mentioned, um, one of them I think is Romello Broom, the section's leading scorer for Woodland Christian. He's a guy to look for. We've talked about other players, certainly. Folsom has two of them, a boy-girl twin, Ava Rawlings, the point guard leader for the girls, missed for the previous 2 years with knee injury. She's back. She's doing great. And then her twin brother, Chase Rollins, who was fantastic last night, UC Davis commit, loves to have the ball in his hand. They are both terrific. So that's really good there. And then Woodland Christian boys and girls are trying to double up tomorrow. This is a small school in Yolo County. A couple of years ago, they won football state championship at 15-0, and I think they were section champs in basketball last year in boys, if I remember correctly. So small schools doing big things. Bret Hart, Argonaut, other teams to look for. So any more thoughts, Jordan? We're going to throw back to you. Anything jump out on the schedule? A player of note? Somebody you want to mention? A stat marvel? Hit us.
mean, I just want to, I know Chris talked about it too, but I really want to hit again on just El Capitan. What a great story this is. I mean, going from never winning a postseason game in program history to winning three games on the road by double digits. And I mean, like Chris said, the travel they had to do, some of the teams they knocked off. Burbank was a big sleeper in that bracket. Placer was by all means a top 10 team in the section almost all year. And they were finally fully healthy, coming and beating them in Auburn. That is no easy task, especially if that crowd was as rabid as I know it can get on a Friday night there. I think this is a great story, and it may not jump out to a lot of people, but we said Folsom McClatchy could be the best matchup here. I have no reason to believe El Capitan can't win this game. I mean, they have the deck stacked against them all year to try to get here, and they're here. And then how about Ponderosa girls too? 27-4, first section championship appearance in program history. Another team that I think some people may have been doubting because it's a program that just hasn't been there like that before, but kudos to them. And I mean, beating up on East Union, the semis, they have a very real chance to hang with Colfax. I mean, as real a chance as anyone else has had over the last couple of years.
Oh, this is good. And Chris Jackson, any names, themes, trends that we haven't touched on or need to touch on again basketball wise tomorrow? I think we're just going to remind everybody you got to be on your best behavior. Referees aren't going to tolerate anything, whether it's perceived fair or not. And players who get ejected have to sit out the next game, and it could be up to 3 games. And this also includes fan behavior. People are subject to of immediate removal. So we all got to behave, and including us, the Three Stooges. Can't be public nuisances out there. But it's a bummer for Stone Ridge Christian, the top seed in Division 6, going to play tomorrow at Golden One without their best player. An appeal was not successful as a player was ejected. Chris Jackson, why don't you close us out here? And is there anything worth picking through on these games?
I'm going to highlight a player and I'm going to highlight a coach. So Gavin Sykes, Modesto Christian, going to Long Beach State in the fall to beat Lincoln of Stockton for a third time this year, who they beat in the semifinals last night and who they just beat in the championship last year, right? It feels like yesterday we were at that game. It shows you how fast that these days and these years go, right? But Gavin Sykes, 45 freaking points last night to defeat Lincoln of
Hmm.
Stockton for a third time this year. It's hard to beat a team like Lincoln twice, to beat him a third time. Takes a Gavin Sykes, just masterpiece of a performance like he always does. So there's that. I'm going to give a coach a shout out to. There's Jermaine Brown, the boys coach at Christian Brothers, that I had written about it in November. He is a man that not long ago he suffered 2 minor strokes. Luckily, he's recovered as best as he can. He's still coaching the team. He's got a stress ball in his hands, still coaching, but it's Jermaine Brown, resilient, courageous, as tough as nails, as good as they come, right? It's some of us may be having a bad day. Shoot, I may be stuck in traffic. I realize it's nothing compared to that, compared to what Jermaine Brown's been through, to go from just being in your young 40s with kids, a wife, to just everything's changed, right? You suffer 2 strokes like that, and you somehow, some way, you come back to coaching, and he's got a great group of kids to coach, and he's got a great best friend on campus too, and Shandon Foster, who was their girls basketball coach, and now they're fulfilling a promise, like I just wrote today, where they said before the year, "Hey, it's our redemption. Let's both go to Golden One together." Now here they go, Christian Brothers, boys and girls, going to play in an NBA court Thursday and Friday.
Oh, that's outstanding. Jermaine Brown, he was a really good basketball player, a point guard for the Burbank Titans of 3500 Florin Road years ago. And when he and I were talking last year, and he remembered how I quoted him in a B story, and he made free throws, and so he appreciated that. We appreciate guys like that. We appreciate when players, student athletes have a good experience in high school sports, and then they circle back at some point and they become coaches and they become the role models that they were inspired by years ago. We see it all over the place. We see it for girls, we see it for boys, we see it for small schools, medium, large enrollment schools. It's all good stuff. A pleasure talking to you guys. Check out Chris Jackson, check out Georgeson, and check out me on social media. We got news links and video and blah blah blah, and we're here, there, and everywhere. We are aligned in our belief that high school sports is a good thing. It's a great thing. We will talk about the issues that people are talking about, and the discussions and controversies, the good things, and we're certainly going to celebrate so many of these achievers. So for the three of us, the Stooges, we will be running amok at Golden One the next 2 days. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys all next week. My friends, we'll see you guys soon.